Servus and welcome to Austrians in Silicon Valley, Open Austria's social media series where we spotlight members of our community living in the San Francisco Bay Area. My name is Kylee Mebust, and today I am joined by Wido Menhardt. He is the Executive Vice President of Digital Health at Siemens Healthineers and a strategic advisor for Bold Brain Ventures. Over the course of his career, he has had a variety of roles in the digital health and health tech space. Wido, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. It's really exciting and it's a wonderful setup you have here.
Thank you so much. We're very proud of it too. So to start this conversation off, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the two main locations that have influenced you a lot, mainly Vienna and Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about why you made the leap from Austria to California?
Everybody has their personal story on that, right? And so in my case, I did my master's in Vienna at the Technische Universität and then moved to Hamburg in Germany to do my PhD in artificial intelligence, actually. And when I was done with that, I wanted to move into a more vibrant technology ecosystem and ended up in Toronto, Canada, with a startup in 3D medical imaging and image-guided surgery. We actually got the first image-guided surgery product through the FDA. I had a blast at that company. I stayed there for something like 7 years. And we ended up working with a lot of medtech startups in the Valley. So I moved to the Valley to be closer to our customers and collaborators.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And wow, I guess comparing, Vienna and Silicon Valley, did you see a lot of differences, or was there a main difference that stood out to you?
I think back then, definitely, but the differences are getting smaller. I mean, there's things like I drove up 101 just now.
Yeah.
And there's a billboard about GitHub for DevOps. You won't see that in Vienna. But thinking back, when I graduated from high school in Vienna, I was the only one that went into science and technology. The only one in my class. In fact, the only one in my year. And my friends from back then, they have accomplished careers and everything, but nobody's in tech. Here, my neighbor on the right works for Google, my neighbor on the left works for Apple. If I go to a party, I'll be talking to the CTO of VMware 1 minute and to the CEO of some startup the next minute. So it's just very exciting. Technology pervades everything, and I love that.
That is very true. I feel like you can't live in the Silicon Valley without having a friend who's a software engineer or an electrical engineer or everything in between.
That's right.
And it sounds like you've been to a lot of different tech hubs. You mentioned Toronto and a few others. Can you tell me about these experiences as well?
The one that really stands out for me is I had the opportunity to work in India for a couple of years. So I worked for Philips, and I ran a large technology center in Bangalore. We were there for 4 years. And in many ways, Bangalore is similar to Silicon Valley because everybody you meet socially is also in technology. And there are hundreds of startups, and your conversations are going to be about technology again. And what I found really interesting was a different innovation mindset in India, which is driven by the environment, right? The social environment, by the scarcity of resources. So some of the innovation mindset is really driven by doing the most with very little resources. And we were able to develop some amazing technology innovations in healthcare, which deliver healthcare at a fraction of the cost of what can be done globally. So loved it, and a lot of similarities to Silicon Valley.
Wow, so you got Europe, you've got North America, you've got Asia, you've really hit a lot of the big places.
Yeah.
So you've done all these very interesting things in your career. What are you doing now?
Well, as you mentioned, I worked for Siemens Healthineers, which means that I actually split my time between here and Europe, which I love. And in some ways connecting back to the roots, because I'm on the board of a Siemens subsidiary in Innsbruck, which powers about 70% of the healthcare data infrastructure in Austria. So patient data connectivity, something we can only dream of in the US, by the way. And we're taking that technology into other countries in Europe as well, Switzerland, Germany, to South America, to Australia. So very exciting. Then another thing is we work closely with the Austrian Institute of Technology on our remote monitoring solution for heart failure patients. So when they get discharged from the hospital, you want to monitor weight, exercise, and so on to make sure that they don't get readmitted, which is bad for them and bad for the hospital and costs. And thirdly, just last week, I met the CEO of a Austrian AI and radiology startup here in Silicon Valley, image biopsy lab, and we are working with them to include them in our AI and radiology portfolio. So we'll sell that alongside with our own developed solutions.
That is very exciting. Making a lot of strides in the health tech field.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I guess to close us here today, can you tell me a little bit more about, your personal experience? I know Silicon Valley seems to have become your home, but do you feel like your family is still very connected to Austria?
Yeah, so my dad actually lives in Vienna and my mom as well. She's an artist, and he turns 90 this December, so we'll all go there for his birthday in Lech am Arlberg. We're a big skiing family.
Oh, yeah.
And so that connection exists. And my kids were born in Canada and the US. They have a strong connection with their grandparents, and through that also with Austria. Mm-hmm. Reality, they're second generation. My son is with a enterprise software startup here in Silicon Valley. My daughter is in Vancouver, studies something related to environmental and conservation sciences, and they'll probably stay here, and that connection will fade, like for many people that have moved to the U.S. Mm-hmm. But yes, that connection is still here today.
Wow. Well, that's good to hear that your family's still so close, and there's still a little grain of connection there.
Exactly, yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. And thank you so much for joining us here in Austrians in Silicon Valley. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Ciao.